because I have a firm belief, and you can disagree with me, I have a firm belief that burnout is simply the inability to say no to what no longer aligns. So my biggest issue, personally and professionally, was, they call it people pleasing. For me, I could morph very easily as an executive into whatever you needed me to be. Of doing all of this work, or 18 months, I would have been able to rhyme off a list of so many things. Now, when you ask me that question, the answer that shows up is that it was nothing compared to the cost of me not doing it. People leave not because they don't want to do their work. They leave because they're not seen, they're not respected, and they see leadership that is really shitty.
Yeah.
And at 63, I decided at 60, what's my third act gonna look like?
Hi, and welcome to the GROWQUIRE Show. My name is Jennie Gellatly-Valiulis, and I am really excited to have LA Glassford with me in the house. Welcome to the show, LA.
Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to talk about your two businesses and what you're doing with your clients, but I've got some exciting questions to ask.
Go on, because I'm really comfortable. This is the way to do it.
I know, because you can
I have a puppy.
You can sink into these
I have a
chairs
beanbag
and talk
chair.
for hours. Like,
Yeah,
it's
great.
amazing.
That's
so,
great.
LA is the owner of the Glassford Group and also a company called Unlocking Her. We'll talk about both of those. So let's jump in here. And first, let's talk about the Glassford Group.
Sure.
What kind of services do you offer to your clients?
So I am a leadership alignment advisor. And let's just get that out of the way, because really the work that I do is I work with, from C-level to directors, VPs, managers, in executives, in working with self-awareness tools, helping individuals identify their patterns, which then lead to the hard conversations, and so ushering them through that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Relationships.
You have been in executive leadership since over 30 years ago.
Over 30 years.
So
Yeah.
extremely qualified to be having these conversations with C-level suite people and
Yeah.
ownership teams and
Yeah.
building up their leadership. So it was really interesting chatting a little bit about that before we started recording here today. Talk a little bit about Unlocking Her.
Okay, so Unlocking Her came out of something I was feeling. I was 58 at the time. I started to talk to women. I'm going through the same thing. It was that kind of organic thing. I had come back from Nassau in Costa Rica, which is a different conversation, but I came back from there with a new sense of myself. I felt like I met her. I met me again. I'm like, I remember that LA. I haven't seen her in so long. So I did that. So when I came back, I started having these conversations. I thought, what if, just what if, I found a house with enough rooms in Nassau, pulled some practitioners that I had worked with, and invited a bunch of women at that time in my real estate industry. What if? And 6 women went. All I did wasn't a business then. All I did was I added up all my expenses, what the chef was going to be, the house was going to be, transportation, all of that, divided it by the number of guests. I said, that's how much it is. And we just did it. And I remember the night. So I came up with it in August. We had the retreat, which I didn't even know it was called a retreat at that point, in December. And I remember sitting around the pool the last night, thanking everyone and how great this has been. And there's a video of it. It's pretty spectacular. There's 30 of us, including practitioners, around the pool. And we're all like, whoa. And we're all saying goodbye. And everybody at once said, yeah, this can't be the only one. And in that moment, Unlocking Her was born. I thought, I guess I need a logo. And I just started.
But your event has been consistently selling out.
Yes.
I was on your website. You've got an event in Costa Rica you're doing every year. You're about 4 years into Unlocking Her now.
Yeah.
So Costa Rica you've been consecutive with. And then I think you do another event in the fall in Northern Ontario.
It's more focused on, they're both focused on leadership of self. They're both focused solely on women. But the one in Costa Rica is a week long. It's really immersive. The one in November every year, which I hold usually at the same home, and sometimes I have it in May, that is a weekend. So it's a little bit more approachable and available for those individuals who can't book a trip or have the cost of Costa Rica. You want a taste of kind of what happens. We don't do everything from the week in there, but it's incredible. The feedback says everything.
So really studying your work, speaking of Costa Rica, it's making me think of one of my first questions for you. You wrote about a conversation that you had in Costa Rica where you were learning that the mind does not have a connection to action, but it's how we feel that drives action. And I think all of us can have such intrusive thoughts of self-doubt. So how does someone get past that? How does someone shift and silence the mind and start to trust their instincts? Because how are you ever going to execute and step into action when your mind maybe is getting in your own way and self-sabotaging and shutting your action down?
You said something in that is the actual answer, which is we need to come back to ourselves. And I truly believe in the work I've done in my past, but specifically in the last 4 years with men and women, is that there's so many layers and ways that we have to show up in the world that we have this thick armor and we forget who we are. Like, doesn't matter your gender. We have so many things. We used to play with mud and boys and girls used to dance and we just used to do so many things, but being an adult, and I call it like the tightening.
Yeah.
We're all like this tight thing. We're like, we can't do that. How embarrassing. What are they going to think? And so it really is, it starts with reconnecting with yourself. And that means you need to become quiet. You need to become quiet, and you need the tools. You need the self-awareness tools. How do I crack that nut? I'm not going to sit in my office and go, okay, so what's happening? Let it happen. It is a time where I often say, here's an idea that if you're in a situation and you're like, in your head, your mind is saying, like, something is saying inside you, this doesn't feel right. That's you talking. And the more you listen to those conversations that don't seem to make sense in the moment, the more you will come into focus. Yeah.
You are bang on when you say it's about coming back to yourself. And it's funny because when you become a leader, I remember my very first vice president job.
Yeah.
I suffered from major imposter syndrome. I was in my late 20s. And
Early.
Not ready for the perception of me.
Yeah.
And I could execute that job, which is why I got
Sure.
that job. But to be a leader, I had not been taught that. And so I did actually have to hire an executive coach myself, she changed my life. And she really taught me basically the same thing you just said. You don't have to put on an act. It's actually the reverse of becoming more of your true authentic self, showing up every day and being that person and not being afraid to say what needs to be said and to lead others and to really remove that fear. So that was like, what do you mean? So I don't have to pretend to be a leader? Like, that was my question to her.
And then the flip side, a lot of people are like, you have to fake it till you make it. That's also true.
There's an element.
There is an element of that. But at the end of the day, and there's also individuals where, and I say this very honestly, sometimes it's not safe to be yourself in that moment. Sometimes it's not safe. Or once you recognize in a role, in a job, whether it's in a marriage or whatever it is, in a relationship, once you realize you've got that feeling that something's not right or that's not cool, wow, that didn't sit well with me. When you feel that, it's your body is already telling you something, and sometimes you won't be able to act in the moment, but you can't forget that, and you have to make a plan to exit, whatever that is.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go deeper.
Bring it.
And go deeper. That's what I like to do, is get under the surface.
Yeah.
what is the cost of listening to yourself? Because you just said sometimes it's not safe. Let's get into the details and into the weeds, because what is the cost of alignment? You've written about how you've had to make some big sacrifices and big sweeping changes in your life as you've stepped into entrepreneurship and into businesses. So what has it cost you to become this new version of yourself as an entrepreneur? I know a lot of people lose relationships, right? If they're not supported. So what is the cost of stepping into who you are really meant to be?
So if you had asked me that a year into my journey of doing all of this work, or 18 months, I would have been able to rhyme off a list of so many things. Now, when you ask me that question, the answer that shows up is that it was nothing compared to the cost of me not doing it. I can see that now in reflection. I can see that now in reflection. But in the moment, I'm like, everything changed. Relationships around me, friendships of 30 years. Like, really, not, I actually had one who I thought was a really deep friend. I remember writing down the words that were being said on the call when we've never smoked. It's just ended. And it was, I don't believe your hashtags. I don't believe this new enlightenment journey you're going on. And I thought, oh, that's really sad. It's really sad that when I start to actually emerge, and this happens often, people don't, they're going to question it. They're going to say you're being fake. They're going to say, I don't believe you. They're going to say you've got an ulterior motive. You're trying to screw other people. And it's the actual opposite. But when you're in that energy, it affects you less. It's like, okay, if that's your thing. I'll also be here for you 10 years later if you want to have a different conversation. There is no grudge. But it just isn't. People like you to show up how you've always showed up for them. So I think you lose a lot of, I don't know if it's lose relationships, you become clearer, but some of them really hurt when they end.
Yes.
Even family.
Wow.
Yeah.
Immediate family, extended family.
All of it.
All of it.
All of it.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's been my experience.
I've had this conversation more than once now on this show. And someone else, Erez, I had him on the show several episodes ago, was saying really the same thing. He not only did he have to say goodbye to a lot of his social groups and certain family members, but he said, I had to fire my accountant and my lawyer. They were holding me back. And they weren't the right people for my company to grow. And so it's really interesting because when you launch on a journey towards your own self, it affects all of your personal relationships and then business relationships too. Maybe the people servicing your business are not of the same vibration or caliber that you want to be heading in, the direction you want to be going in.
The sad fact is, because social media has all these memes and Instagrams like be your authentic self and fill up your cup and make sure you put yourself first, that they become bullshit lines that people don't believe. But if they understood the actual work behind those four little phrases that are so nicely fonted in poster font, there's so much work. At the end of the day, you can go on the podcast, you can go to the retreat, you can hire the executive coach, you can go to the conference, you can read the great books. But if you don't take anything from those experiences, learn and integrate those lessons into your life, you're wasting all of that money. Why did you read the book, show up, go to the conference, or go to the retreat? It was a waste of money.
Yeah.
You have to work at it.
You have to do something after.
You have to actually do something. You have to learn to say, for me, it was learning to say no in a way that I would come out and not feel like it was mean.
You just perfectly segued into what I wanted to ask you next, because you wrote about how your mentor once told you, if it's not a clear yes, it must be a clear no. And how we can really get stuck in, well, maybe. And that maybe takes up a lot of inner space inside of us.
Maybe. So there's two words for me that are like maybe and try. And I don't know if this is true. Somebody watching can Google this and go, she's absolutely right or she's absolutely wrong. My understanding is that in the English language, we are one of the few languages that have the word try. There's no really direct translation in any other language because you're either doing or you're not doing. But we've come up with this word that needs to be in between. But the fact is, if you're trying, you're doing. You're either doing or you're not doing. And so it's the same thing for the work. You're either doing it or you're not doing it.
So why is the word no so important, and why was that word directly connected to your personal breakthrough?
For me, because I always found, so my biggest issue personally and professionally was, they call it people pleasing. For me, I could morph very easily as an executive into whatever you needed me to be. You need me to be that? I got your back. Yeah, no problem. You need to have the hard conversation, you're not really sure how? I got you. I'll take care of that hard conversation for you, right?
Yes.
I'll take care of the presentation. I'll be your host. I'll be your moderator. I'll also get the panel together. I will. Just because it wasn't that I thought I can do everything. As a matter of fact, it was the opposite. But I felt, you need me to do this. I am needed. And when I am needed, I am fire. And so it was this always need to show up for others and be needed. To say no, then it would be questioning my identity. Are I not the person that didn't ever have to say no because I'm your gal, I'm your woman, I'm your executive, I'm the one, I'm the planner, I'm the this?
Oof.
So if I'm all those things and then I say, that doesn't work for me, then who am I? So I really had tied it to my identity, and I also had tied a negative weaponization around the word no. I did not see it as the positive, really protecting word that it could be. So therefore, at the end, I didn't know how to say no. I thought of a whole bunch of other ways to decline, but saying no meant disappointing, and I don't disappoint people. So I tied the two together.
And it's so interesting, leading back to one of your answers previously, what is the cost of stepping into who you are supposed to become? And you reflected and said, it's not as much as the cost of not taking action. And when you don't say the word no, you're continuously shutting that real person inside of you down, that authentic
Always.
version of you. And
then that becomes your default.
and doing disservice and dishonoring yourself.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
You can have the people that say no in an unkind, disrespectful way with no compassion. I'm writing a book right now, and I have this chapter, and I haven't titled it yet, but I believe, and I talk a lot about this in my coaching, that if I had a magic wand and I could, on the world, it would be to teach individuals how to have a difficult conversation, because that is our problem. It is our problem. I can't talk to them because they're an asshole. I can't talk to them because. So if we can approach conversations much like one of these lights that's on a tripod, and we think each leg, one's respect, truth, and compassion. And if you can approach a conversation, a hard conversation with those three ends of the tripod, then do it.
Yes.
But if any of those do not exist, if you can't do it with respect, ask yourself why. If you can't do it and be totally truthful or be compassionate, ask yourself why. Because there's something you're afraid of. It's not the other person. There is something you're afraid of happening, whatever it is, that is, I can't be respectful. How can I be? They betrayed me. I can't be respectful. Then you've got some things to work out before you can have that conversation.
I'm going to pause here. This is unplanned. We need to dig into this. I want this detail from you because I trust you, and I think people would really benefit from the answer. How do you approach a narcissist? Let's go back and rewind what you just said about that tripod, because how do you respect someone who's a lot of people in leadership have had ego issues? Yeah. And sometimes we see narcissistic, dysfunctional leadership styles. It's possible. Mm-hmm. So we know those are the most challenging people to work for. Mm-hmm. How do you break through with that personality
So I think there's
style?
two things I would say. I'm definitely not the expert, and I would mention someone who I think everyone should go to. But I think at the end of the day, you need to realize you're never It's a no-sum win. You cannot allow yourself to get into a debate with anyone who is a narcissist.
Yes, because there's going to be no common ground. You will not be finding common ground.
Because they lack empathy. And so because they're actually not interested in your response, any debate gives them more fodder for, okay, I'm going to now bring this in. You think that's happening? And so really the best way is to, number one, know your internal boundaries and when they're crossed. Because if you have a conversation and you're having this conversation with a narcissist and gaslighting, whatever it is, if you already come to the conversation knowing what your boundaries are and what's important to you, then you also have a responsibility to exit that conversation. Physically, on the phone, whatever it is. So when that comes up with you're not listening, he's not being kind, then you need to get yourself out of the room, because exiting is a strategy. So is silence. You can use silence strategically. You are talking and the narcissist wants an immediate response, which is why you can't debate. They want an immediate response. So allowing 6 to 7 seconds to just sit there after they respond and just go, that's interesting. Would others see it like that? Or, that's really interesting. Why would you say such a thing? Just in the moment. Just in the moment. Let it sit. And then instead of answering, question why they would think that was even appropriate right now to ask. Because you can't, holding a narcissist accountable, really difficult, but you have to hold yourself accountable in that moment with your boundaries, your values, and your exits.
Yes.
And that means you need to already have a phrase at the ready that you have ready to go. Because if you're in that moment, we've all been in that conversation. You leave and you're like, I should have said this, I should have said this, I should have done this, I should have just got up really politely. But if you just practice it just like a job or a role play before, and you've already said it, and you're like, I know, I'm going to use that phrase. And you use that phrase, it's practice.
Can you become the best and highest version of yourself if you hold on to relationships like that in your life, whether they are at work or they're in your personal life? Is this back to what the cost is of truly becoming who it is that you want to be?
What do you mean by holding on to the relationship?
If you're choosing to stay at work, if you're choosing to stay at that company or working for that person or with that business partner or whoever it may be, it might be a parent, it might be a sibling, it might be a spouse. We all have different personality styles in our worlds.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to part ways with very important relationships when we start to realize, oh, I had a very close best friend growing up through high school and into the university years, and I really valued that friendship.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I turned 20 that I realized, every time we hang out, you're making fun of me. It was so subtle, though.
But that was your inner knowing speaking to you right then.
And you're talking about a friendship that's however long, and it's really only come to the surface of your consciousness, and you're like, huh, do I like the way that this friend makes me feel? You're my best friend. Weird. And I think that you just have to have the courage to decide to make a different decision in those moments.
And listen to what is being said. Because when we don't listen to what you just described, when you don't listen to that after months, weeks, and then years, and then decades, it will show up physically in your body because you're not listening to it.
Absolutely.
So here's the flip side. If you work with someone like that, but you need your job, there is no way you can leave your job. Your family depends on it. This is your first, second, third job. You need it to pay the bills. This is also something you've worked really hard for as well. There are different avenues that you can take, but the personal one first is to establish boundaries, because once a narcissist, when you're not debating anymore and you've got those boundaries, you're not fun anymore.
I'm laughing because it's so true. It's their form of entertainment.
It's a
like debate.
I'm not getting anywhere with her.
Constant
I'm going to move on to
debating.
someone else. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to support you, because they're not.
Yes.
Because you've made them look at themselves.
Yes.
But you do just, it's like the bully in school.
Yeah. All right. So you've been in executive leadership for 30 years. A lot has happened over that time frame in the workplace of corporate culture now versus 30 years ago. So what do you see as like the most prevalent pattern of your clients today in corporate culture? What is your most unpopular, controversial opinion of corporate culture now versus then?
That's a great question. That's a really great question, because then I was just saying yes to anything with no boundaries, because I left home at 17. I'm like, I need to make my own money, be independent. I don't want to have to depend on anybody. And I said yes to anything that came my way. And so I wasn't really paying attention to the culture. I was just, how do I get to this? How do I support all of that? But looking back and having a really big corporate role my last 5 years that I was actually in corporate, ego is a problem.
Yeah.
It is a problem in that whether it's banking, insurance, real estate, food and beverage, whatever, fashion, telecommunications, I've been a VP at all of those industries. And regardless of the industry, it does come down to ego and therefore accountability. And all of that, the way to fix that and the way to address that is through self-awareness and knowing your patterns. But there are many leaders, owners, partners, people that run businesses that have no interest except self.
Yes.
Okay? You can't fix everybody. You can't. My grandfather and my father used to say, in order to see the problem, you need to take your plate and you need to scrape the corn to the middle of the plate. You know, he didn't feel like eating as a kid and you just moved everything around. He's like, you want to see what it is? It's this. And that right there in corporate, that's ego. And that gets you broken relationships. It gets a big cavern between you and the actual people that are doing the work for your company, because you are the most important. It also gives you not just this big chasm, but it gives you, innovation goes, it's done. Why would I come and bring ideas? It teaches people to be dependent on process instead of and rules instead of dependent on what if we did this. I think the biggest issue that might be controversial in saying this is ego. And when you have people in positions that have been in the executive ownership or top level positions for more than 10 years and you aren't switching them out, that's on you. Because what happens in 10 years? Relationships, technologies, business move. And you really think that individual isn't just going to have their best interest at heart? That people leave not because they don't want to do their work. They leave because they're not seen, they're not respected, and they see leadership that is really shitty.
Yes. I think regardless of what generation you are from, I think there is so much less tolerance to work for someone that is ego-driven and an authoritarian. I think 2 to 3 decades ago, it was much more broadly accepted that your boss would swear at you and scream at you and throw stuff
I had
at
a
your
boss
head.
that would hit me on the ass walking by.
That's right.
That was allowed.
And then the whole Me Too movement.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things now that have changed over the last 2 to 3 decades, and a lot less tolerance for these behaviors.
But
these people still own these companies.
Okay, so when society changes and said that's no longer acceptable, then what's not acceptable becomes the issue, right?
Say that again.
When something becomes unacceptable in society and it's named, the people that are most threatened with that ego go, that's the issue. That's the problem. It's not the issue that needs to be fixed. It's actually the problem. We're spending too much time on that. It's taking our focus away from the bottom line,
you know
all
what?
of that.
Let's hit on this harder, the nail on the head here.
Yeah.
Equity, inclusion, belonging, accepting broad races, genders, gender equity. These programs are incredibly important and of the moment. And for a reason they're of a moment, humankind has decided that these topics greatly matter, as they should. And some owners don't feel like these are important to make investment in. They are. And I know we were talking before we started filming that most of your clients are actually men.
Yes.
And so it's interesting because on the Glassford group, most of your clients are men.
Correct.
Unlocking Her, all of your clients are women.
Correct.
And so I just want to make it very distinct. You're actually mostly providing your business services to men who own companies.
I am.
They initially hired you for, you share.
I was initially hired by both my companies, and I've been working with one for 3 years and one for 4. They initially hired me for either women in leadership and really wanted to understand what they could. So I had purpose-driven, aware men that wanted to really be there for women in their business. And the other was in diversity inclusion. It was how can we, and I've got the background, I had the experience, and I'm like, let's do this. And they brought me in for those 2 reasons. Both of those companies who I still work with, I am doing completely different work with them, because what happens is you're sitting in a meeting and we need to do this strat plan. You should just do this. You can help me with that too. Of course I can.
Yes.
And so it just becomes like that. It's relationships.
What I love about how it started though was the people who are your clients are the ones that recognize how important these initiatives are. Developing women in leadership,
Bingo.
Equity, belonging, inclusion, and making sure that you have a diverse range of people that you're employing and you're not just employing one group of people. So they've recognized within themselves, this is really important and this is really important to me and to my company, but I don't know how to execute this, which is where you step in. And I think just that it's special that they've been able to acknowledge, hey, this matters, but I don't know how to do it. And let me bring in an expert.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I'm grateful to my clients, unbelievably grateful. But I remember sitting them both down when they did hire me. And I said, just not a warning, but I'm going to be very clear. I don't work with dicks or assholes. We all would laugh about that, but I'm like, I just don't. I don't believe there's ever a reason to ever have a disrespectful conversation, ever.
Yes.
All the hard conversations can be done with respect, truth, and compassion.
Yes.
So that was number one. And the second thing was, I'll never just give you the answer you want to hear. As a matter of fact, I'll probably give you the answer you don't want to hear. And that's what I'm good at. And so for me, it took me all those years to then have my own business where I can teach others to actually have the hard conversation. And I love the work. I love it.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's you learning how to harness the word no. And because no expands into those uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
And removing fear of backlash from hitting on a conversation
Big.
that needs to be had.
Yeah.
You have to remove that fear, or you can't have the courage to have the conversation. I can see that. I know the owners and the executives that you work with, because why would you bring in a consultant or an advisor like yourself that's not someone on payroll? If you really need a breakthrough in your business and you're stuck, chances are you're stuck because of behavioral issues.
It's always behavioral issues.
It's always behavioral issues. And you need someone that you trust to really point out the uncomfortable truths to you.
And that right there, not everybody wants to hear.
And have the courage to go to those places within yourself. And I think that's where the most transformation happens in businesses.
It is.
That inner transformation is where then, oh, hey, I'm actually going to work on this within myself. And then I'm going to build an action plan.
And then your team sees you doing that and goes, oh wow.
Winner chicken dinner.
Immediately.
Gold. That's gold. Yeah.
Because I'll tell you right now, to any leader out there who is not in that position and is still focused on, but this is my title and this is what I deserve and this is how you'll treat me, you are already losing trust in your organization, but no one's telling you. It just is. That's what happens. Oh, that's the way she is, or that's the way he is. So you know what? Just give them what they need, but then this is what we're actually going to do. That's what happens. Trust, you said. That was very important. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk about women in leadership a little bit more with you. Not just women in leadership. I want to talk about women broadly who are balancing their work and their life. And I hate that word, balancing. F that word. F that word.
No balance.
There's no, let's just delete that word and rewind the tape here. Okay. Let's talk about women who have a career, who also, maybe they don't even have children, but they still have a family. And or maybe they have kids, right? What would you, if you had to say one sentence to every single woman who feels burnt out and exhausted from trying to juggle a career and family life, what is that one sentence you would say?
I would say the following. I see you, but let's get real. What are you avoiding? That is what I would say. Because I have a firm belief, and you can disagree with me, I have a firm belief that burnout is simply the inability to say no to what no longer aligns. Okay?
So true.
When someone says to me, you don't understand, I have no capacity left. I'm up to here. I'm so full, it's like coming out. I have no time. I have no thing. Then my response is, what are you saying yes to that you should say no to? Because if what you're telling me, you can't do this, but oh, you would do anything to do this, then do the anything. Look at what you're doing and figure it out. If that means, I can't, you don't understand, I'm a single mom, which I have been. A single mom, I don't have any family around, I don't have this. Okay, so let's look at the schedule. Let's look at what you're doing when they're not there. What can you say no to so you can give back to you and have that time? I'm not saying burnout doesn't exist. What I'm saying is the first thing we need to look at for burnout is, why is my capacity overflowing? What am I doing that I shouldn't be doing? Just because I started being the one that did the groceries when we got married, now we've got 3 kids. Why am I still doing the groceries? Can we revisit the rule here? Or it could be your husband saying, listen, I always took out the garbage and I always did this, but man, like I'm working 3 jobs now. Can you take it out? Yeah, you're right. You shouldn't have to do that anymore. This isn't even a sex thing. It's just, we have to look at what were the labor agreements that we made with everyone around us. And now, do they still hold true? No, how can I still do all of it?
You cannot be afraid to have the tough conversations.
Which I've said probably 6 times in our talk. It is all about, that would be my magic wand. If we could teach people, kids in school, parents, how to have that tough conversation. I'll never forget an executive, which was like probably 2 levels above me. I was already a vice president. I won't say where. And he's big up there. And I remember him saying to me that, so we've got a bit of a, like it's her body odor. And I'm like, we have a conversation with her? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should talk to HR about that. And I'm like, I can have the conversation with her. Have the conversation. And I remember sitting down with this woman and saying, this might be really difficult for you to hear, but I just want to talk to you about something that's come up. And we had this conversation and it came up and she was explaining. It was like, oh my God, that's, okay, so how can we get you help? And it was perfect conversation. And I remember after this executive said, so you had the conversation? I said, yeah, with truth, with compassion and respect. Oh my God, I don't know how you did that, LA. And I thought, are you not like up here? But this is what happens because everything trickles down and they have everybody else, right? I can't have the conversation because I can't be that vulnerable. So I'm going to make other people have that conversation. It's all about the hard conversations.
It is.
All of it.
So if you're burnt out and you're exhausted, you really need to ask yourself the tough questions.
What do I need to do less of?
Yeah.
And what do I need to do more of? Because when people say my cup is full and I'm at my max, the answer is you need to do more for yourself and less of everything else.
Yes.
Not easy, but true.
So I want to talk a little bit about your events. I really want to go to your events in Costa Rica, probably next year, not this year. but I would love to go.
Yeah.
Because every time you come back, when I'm following along your post, I can sense the breakthroughs that happen
Always. For me.
for everyone.
Everybody.
For everyone.
Yes.
And I think that more than ever, we need that connection to ourselves and to others. So talk a little bit about some of the biggest breakthroughs that have happened at your events without naming names.
Yeah, no. Oh, the immediate one comes up, and I'm just going to say her name. Her name is Christina. It brings me emotion because I'm a cursor. I'm trying not to drop the F-bomb. I'm so proud of her. There's a lot of, I'll talk about Christina in a sec, but the basic, all breakthroughs is that on the first night when everybody arrives, all the women are looking at each other, and we're all like, I wonder who you are. I wonder who you are. Oh, you remind me of, there's this whole, you're in a new world.
Scanning.
You're scanning. Oh my God, I shouldn't be here. Oh my God, she's so much more aware than I am. Why did I come here? Oh my God, I should have packed those kind of shoes. I have those shoes. Why didn't I bring those shoes? Like, all of this happens in nanoseconds. And I remember the first retreat, I stood up, because there's no shapewear sucking in your stomach in my retreats. And I'm 63 years old, 20 years post-menopausal. So my body is all sorts of jiggly shapes. And I remember standing up, dropping everything in a string bikini and going, anybody else want to go for a swim? And then we started to talk about this, like, we're so hard on ourselves. And I remember grabbing my stomach going, this gave me kids. So the big thing I would just say is that there's space for the masks to drop, and all of it.
So what was this big breakthrough?
So this breakthrough, we were in Nosara, and we were in a circle. We weren't doing plant medicine yet. We were in a circle. We had just done a really deep meditation. We had a deep sound bath. We were coming out of it, and we were all talking about it. We were in the jungle. There was like 16 of us, all on our mats. It all smelled like Palo Santo and sage. It was beautiful. And all of a sudden, one of my guests, who came with her mother, which is a whole different conversation and dynamic, came with her mother to heal something, which they did, which, magic, said, I don't know how she started it, but she started to say, I always wanted to be an opera singer. And we were talking to her, and then her mother stepped in and said, she stopped singing when she was 9 because of, and there was this bullyish thing that had happened. And she said, but my Nona died recently. And she had asked me before she died to sing at her funeral. And she said, so I did. And her mother's starting to cry right now because she's just so. And we're like, so somebody said, would you sing for us? And she immediately tightened up, and I don't know if I haven't practiced my voice. And I remember just looking at her and going, Christina, this is so safe. We just want you to sing, but only if you want to. She hadn't sung publicly outside her Nonas. She put on the Phantom of the Opera song, or was it Les Miserables? She put it on, and she put the track, and she sang, and I videotaped it. Oh. It's in parts of my reels sometimes. And listening to it, we all get chills. Let's fast forward 18 months later, and she's got her album out.
No. This is so good.
And I'll give you the name so you can add her to this. But honestly, I'm actually seeing her for dinner next week. But when I see things like that, when I see mother and daughters repair decades of a relationship, when I see wives go home and I get a letter from the husband that says, I don't know what you did. I wasn't a fan of it. I didn't want her to go, but I've got my wife back. Like, when I hear things like that, and I've also had things like, I'm so clear, I know the decision I have to make when I go home about their job, and you've got people who are C-levels sitting with someone that cuts hair, someone that hasn't worked, someone that's gotten fired, it's not about how much money you have or what you do or what you look like. Wear makeup, wear high heels, I don't care. I'm not going to be in a bra, no shapewear, bare feet. And the breakthroughs are, most women, it's been a long time since they could sit in front of anyone and just let it all hang out, physically, emotionally, without any judgment. it says, what is unlocking her? And I'm like, go to the testimonials. It's hard for me to describe what it is because it's so personal. If you want to go to the testimonials and you see yourself there, then you should probably come.
Exactly.
That's as easy as I can describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what you said at the beginning of the episode about how we used to play with mud. We used to play with mud.
Dance.
We used to dance. We used to sing without wondering. And at what age does a child get so
twirling.
self-conscious?
I always say that. At what age is the twirling? Does someone say, oh, put your skirt down?
You know?
You can't do that.
That's right. And we used to have so much fun. And where's that version of us? It's still in there.
It is still in there. And I see those versions in Costa Rica.
It does need to be unlocked. And I don't want to touch on becoming the highest version of yourself without talking about just how much fun it is, right? There's something magical when you really deeply, genuinely stop caring so much about what other people think of you.
It has been, I didn't realize that it was the rock holding me down to everything. And once I cut that thread, that big, beautiful boulder, everything in my life changed.
Yes.
My business went whoosh, all of a sudden this and then this, and now I'm writing a book, and now I'm going to do this, and I'm saying yes to everything that aligns. Speaking engagements in front of women, everything. Not because I'm like, oh, I need to do this now. Because if you are uncomfortable with me, with my energy, as I'm showing up right now in my authentic me, and it's not comfortable for you, that's okay. You don't have to be good with me.
Yes.
But I'm not going to chase or figure out a way that you can be good with me, because that's energy that's now taking away from me.
Yes.
And at 63, I decided at 60, what's my third act going to look like?
Oh, this is so good.
And it looks like this.
This is so special because I think that we are brainwashed to think, retire, go off into the sunset. You're not relevant. You're not important. You don't matter anymore. Right. And your ideas don't matter anymore. You've had your time. Retire. Go garden. And you know what? I think that's just a huge societal, cultural mistake. And I think now more than ever, we badly need the wisdom of people over 60 in the workplace, in our lives.
Yes.
Chiming in with their ideas.
Yeah.
We need those voices. And so talk a bit about clients you work with who are over 60 in your Glassford group business and in corporate culture, but also women. How can you help someone, man or woman, unlock that third act for themselves?
It really does start with understanding their value system. And listen, I'm also a partner in Canada, and I'm a certified practitioner of insights discovery, which is a psychometric tool based on the learnings or teachings of Carl Jung. And insights changed my life. It changed my relationship with my daughter. I remember her and I reading, she did her part, I did mine. I remember her saying we were in Dundee, Scotland, and she had hers, and she's, oh my God, flip to page 38. And we were like, what? And we both looked and we were like, oh my God, that's why that happened at the train station between you and I. Because you show up like this in times of chaos, Mom, and I show up the opposite way. Because in times of chaos or hurt or embarrassment or frustration, all I want to do is go to you and hold you, talk to you. How can I fix it? What can I do? I'm wired in that way. At work, at home, in every way. She is wired for back off. I need to be alone. Don't talk to me. I need to go inside and introspective. But when I see inside and introspective, I'm like, what are you doing? I just want to help you. What's the matter? Why can't you let me be there? But we had realized this moment. And so when I say, for me, it is reconnecting, regardless of gender, it's reconnecting individuals to themselves, because I know from personal experience, I forgot who LA was. I forgot who Lorianne was. I forgot who I was. And when I reconnected with her, I wanted more of her. So I said I was going to do the work. And then I had to sit down people in my life around me and say, okay, so this is how I'm now going to show up. I'm a bit nervous, but I'm going to give it a shot. And this is what I can't show up as anymore. So I had that hard conversation, because also I'm just going to turn up one day and decide not to do what I did for 20 years.
Yeah.
Why would I expect someone to accept that? So also have the ability and the compassion to go, hey, yeah, I'm doing some work on myself. It might be a bit rocky around here.
Yeah.
And we need to move through it, but let's have an open dialogue about it. Don't walk on eggshells around me. And again, it's back to the hard conversation.
Yes.
When I ask women and men in coaching when they're late 50s, early 60s, normally what it is, I don't even see myself anymore. How can you expect others to see you when you don't even see yourself anymore? So we deep dive on self-awareness and learning about yourself and the patterns. And listen, once you know the patterns, it's like when someone says, why can't you just live in alignment? What's alignment? You got to show me how.
Yes.
If you're just going to say, just show up better or start to say no, put the boundaries in place. My question is, how the hell am I supposed to do that? You're just going to tell me that and walk away?
What is blocking you? And you can't get the root of what's blocking you without deep self-journey discovery.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not woo crap.
It's not. No.
I've been the executive. I've sat at the billion-dollar table. I've sat at the round table. No, it's all BS.
Yeah.
It is. It's just BS. You just have to go, inward.
It's a
I
great
don't know if that
answer.
answers your question.
It
but-
does. It does. Because you have to get to the root of what matters most to you with your time and with expressing your talents and gifts when you get to that stage of life.
It's very hard to say. At least it was for me. I'm a really good leader. I'm really good at this. I'm really smart at this. Because the stories we tell ourselves at teen, early, they stick with us. I told myself until 4 years ago. They didn't hire me because I was intelligent. They hired me because,
Really?
absolutely, because I dropped out of first year university 6 months after I started. I literally went to university and 6 months into it and I said, this is bullshit. Took my OSAP money and went to the Bahamas. Completely irresponsible. Completely irresponsible. But it's why I'm sitting here. So I have no regrets over that. None.
Yes.
But I always told myself I'm surrounded by people who went to this school or with this initial after their name. And so when it came to what school did you go to or what Ivy League this, I would just change the subject. So I always believed I can't write a book. How can I write a book? I'm not a writer. I quit university. So the stories we tell ourselves, we need to relook at them and rewrite them and then believe them.
Yes. Believing them is the harder part.
And it is. And that we do a lot of that at my weekend retreat in November. That's the one thing we really dive into is we rewrite those stories.
That is the breakthrough. Because
It is.
someone might know, I know I have to say no to that person or leave this relationship or change jobs.
Yeah.
I know what I have to do, but I don't believe I deserve better in their subconscious mind.
100%.
Or I'm not smart, or I don't deserve that promotion. I'm not smart enough. I really don't offer that much value. Maybe
They
I
deserve
shouldn't-
it more. I didn't work hard enough.
Yes.
All of it.
All of those lies.
Yeah.
And I think at least for me, in my experience, I think you need a guide. You cannot go down that path of self-discovery on your own the most efficient way possible.
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult.
It is difficult.
To try and do that alone and shift your behaviors and shift your beliefs without someone really helping you.
Yeah.
And to get there, you really have to bare your soul.
That comes back to trust.
That
And
comes
how do
back
you
to
trust a
trust.
stranger? Right? Like, how does someone actually go and try to find a coach, a guide, a mentor, whatever? It's really difficult.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I did from the get-go is, because I only take 3 coaching clients a year, because it's too much for me.
Absolutely.
Because I give everything.
Exactly.
So it's not about the money. It's about, I only have 3 clients a year from a coaching private. And so at the end of the day, it's If someone doesn't offer you a full hour of their time at zero cost to figure out if what they're offering is good for you, then they are not worth it. Do never sign up for a call, half an hour, 20 minutes, or an hour that they're going to charge you for initially. That's BS. That's a money grab, right? Yes. I also say to my clients all the time, I don't work with you unless you're willing to do an insights profile. Because don't you want an insights profile? That's going to save me 3 months of figuring things out, because it's all right here. Exactly. So let's figure out everything right to begin with, and then let's get into the work.
Yes.
I don't want to spend 6 months figuring out, oh, that's why. That's your blind spot.
Yes.
I want to know your blind spot right away, and then we'll work on that. It's just more efficient.
I love it.
But it's hard.
Yes, it is hard.
Hard to make that first reach out.
It is difficult.
Yeah.
And then once you start to realize the truths about yourself and the things you've been believing, it can be very painful. It can really hurt.
I would say self-awareness, not fun.
It's not fun. It's very hard work and very worthwhile work. And when you come on the other side of it, then you start living.
Because you measure intention versus impact.
Yeah.
When you read something about yourself, you're like, yeah, I do that sometimes, but I don't mean to do that. Okay. Both can be true. You can not intend to have this impact, but when you do, there's your impact. So now you should shine a light on here and try to maybe switch things up a bit. It's our responsibility.
Yes.
But that's why self-awareness is hard, because it puts the accountability on us and not somebody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I've loved today's conversation.
Same.
I want to ask, so I ask all my guests the same closing question.
Okay.
In as few words as possible.
Problem already.
What, up until this point in time, what have been the highlights of your life?
That's a lot. Okay, so obviously, birth of my daughter, obviously my husband, who also brought a son into our relationship, and I wouldn't be anywhere without my daughter and son. So there we go, my husband. He's also my biggest fan and supporter. So that aside, my biggest highlights. There were times where I really stood up and said the thing that needed to be said, whether it was in a boardroom or in a relationship, that I'm really proud of. But I look back and I think it took me years to stand up. And so I think what I've learned from that is that, look, none of us were born walking, right? We all have something that we can look back and go, I did that. Okay, remember that. There's your exercise for today. Go back and think, what was that one thing you're like, I still can't believe I did that? Memorize that. And every time you don't think you can do something, pull that one up. Because clearly you can do any bloody thing you want. But the other highlight I would say was having the courage to do the work I needed to do the work on and look at myself. It was really hard. I had to learn some hard things about myself and see pieces of me that I was not proud of. And I did all of that in Asara. And yeah, I think, and I guess the other thing that would be a highlight in my life would be the decision that my husband and I made to let go of the materialistic life we were living and relocate into a 4-season, 650 square foot cottage, and determine not to buy a damn thing forever unless it was already reused or recycled, and do all the work ourselves. And it's changed our life, living in the trees. It's literally changed our lives. Our nervous system, our breathing, our health, our emotional health. We've been together 20 years, and it feels like the first month. And it's funny because Patrick and I don't fight. And I remember someone going, yeah, that's a bullshit relationship. You got to fight. If you don't fight, I'm like, yeah, no, you don't have to.
You don't have to.
You just don't have to.
That's right.
And yeah, I think the highlights would be my family that I've created, because there were exes, and there was a lot of hurdles and compromises that we needed to make in order to make this work. And we stuck it out to do so because we believed when no one else did. But in my career, it would be the times where I stood up just this times where I held myself in grace, even though in front of me it was a horrible experience. I'm like, I'm going to show up in this moment really respectfully and compassionately, not because you necessarily deserve it, because I do in this moment.
Yes.
That's really hard not to react to bad behavior or bad decisions or lies. It's
just
hard.
Moments where you're extremely proud of yourself.
It is. It's hard to, but if we can actually take a moment one morning this week to anyone watching and go, what are the times I was most proud of? And actually remember those times. Watch what happens to your body as you're thinking about these things. Your shoulders are going back, your breathing's getting better, you're smiling, your headache's starting to go away. All of a sudden you've got energy to do something today. Give yourself those kudos, right?
You have to catalog that actively.
You do.
Because I think we are conditioned to constantly find, oh, what could I be improving on? Oh, I could be getting better at that. We're constantly doing that to ourselves, and that's happening to us at work. Oh, you can improve on this, you can improve on that. And I'm not saying let's get a medal for everything we participate in, but in our own time, in our own headspace, we need to create a new script of what would happen if I started cataloging all the things I'm proud of that I've done this year so far? And what kind of mood would that put me in?
Immediate, because my next 6 months, there's a lot of work to get done. But oh my God, it's almost July. I can't believe what I got done. In January, I thought that would never happen. And now I'm 20,000 pages in. Oh, what? It's just, or not pages, but words. When you open up yourself after you've done the work in your values, and that more things that align will open up. That's not an Instagram reel or a TikTok reel. It's actual truth. The more that you align with doing things only that align with you, I'm not saying not for others, but that align with, yes, this makes sense for me, the more things that make sense for you will come.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
this has been great.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, of course.
Miss LA Glassford in the house. I'm going to be dropping all of her contact information in today's show notes.
Awesome.
You can contact her. She is a phenomenal leadership coach and can help you grow your business and help you get unstuck, whether you're a man or a woman. And then if you are a woman working or not, any generation from any different financial background, she can really help you reach that breakthrough point. I've known LA for almost a decade. We've been in the same industry, in the commercial real estate industry here in Canada, mostly retail, right? We've both been with restaurant companies, developing restaurants, and have had really similar circles in the industry for a long time. So I've always looked up to you, and you are one of my favorite voices to follow on LinkedIn.
Did you not read my LinkedIn post? I'm like, I'm about to leave LinkedIn.
I did. And
but I'm not.
You better not.
I'm not.
Because why I like it so much is I'm often reading your content going, oh, finally someone's saying it. Mostly about the moments like that are what it's like, what the journey is like for being a woman in business. And you've shared really personal anecdotes on there too. And I'm just like, oh, this is just so refreshing.
Thank you.
It's so refreshing.
That's actually really meaningful to me.
And I saw your post recently about how the algorithm has forgotten you. And I wanted to kind of give you a kick when I saw that and just tell you, it is not you, it's the consistency.
It is the consistency.
That's literally what it is.
And also, I needed to listen to my own voice and coaching, which says, external validation? For God's sake, LA, what are you looking at? But for me, it was just like I had so much engagement back and forth. And I thought thousands of people used to see it. And now after a week, 22 people have seen my post. I thought my bigger issue is I'm not reaching the women that I want to reach. But you've just switched that for me right now.
If you posted every single Tuesday at the exact same time, 10 a.m. is the highest traffic time of the day on social media on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If you consistently posted every week without fail, I promise you, you will see significant increase in your numbers.
Everybody reads my newsletter. That's great.
That's great.
That's wonderful.
Great.
But when I just want to go...
And this has been something so important for me to learn because we can internalize these things. But then I had someone simply explain it to me. How can we assume that everyone is on the platform at the same time?
We can't.
Or how can we assume
How arrogant of me to even assume that.
that everyone is going to be even on LinkedIn that week?
Yeah.
And so anyway, you are one of my favorite voices that I follow. You better not.
Not going anywhere.
Better not stop.
No, not going
posting.
anywhere.
I'll be really mad. I'll come find you.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's
always.
been a pleasure.
Mwah.
Thanks, everyone.
It was great. Awesome. That was fantastic.
It's fun. If this episode got you thinking differently about how to grow and acquire your income, then you are exactly who this is for. Make sure you're following along the GROWQUIRE Show so you don't miss the next big idea, opportunity, or conversation. And if you know someone who's ready to stop just earning and start owning, share this with them. Because the goal isn't just to make money, it's to grow it and acquire more of it. I'm Jennie, and I'll see you in the next episode.